Hey everybody, my name is Declan and welcome back to my channel, and welcome if you're new. Thank you so much for joining me for tonight's video. If you enjoyed that trailer, then be sure to check out my Weird World playlist here on my channel. There's so many videos that I am sure you will love. Anyway, let's get into today's video. Did you know that in your lifetime you will walk past at least 16 murderers and never know it? This is Weird World, and this is the unsolved mystery of the missing Dutch students. On April 1st, 2014, two hard-working students and best friends from the Netherlands, Lisanne Froon, aged 22, and Kris Kremers, aged 21, took a well-earned trip to Panama. Lisanne was described as an extremely intelligent, hard-working student who excelled at volleyball. She graduated with a degree in applied sciences from Deventer on the September before. Kris was described as a more creative person with an extremely adventurous nature. She studied art education at the University of Utrecht. The trip was planned as a present to themselves for many reasons, one being Lisanne had just graduated. Another, well, they were going to get to go to an entirely different country, one of the most beautiful countries in the entire world, as well as learn a completely new language. And the final reason was they were going to go and volunteer for the underprivileged children who lived out there. On top of all of that, it was a chance for freedom and adventure, and who best to celebrate it with than your best friend? They toured Panama for around 2 weeks, and on March 29th, they arrived in a little town called Bokweit. Now, they didn't just visit this town for a random reason to explore it, they had actually pre-booked living with a local family there. And before I go any further, I just want to say that these girls really did organise this trip very well. On every day, they had something different to do. On April 1st, around 11 AM, they had planned to go on a hike up at the Bokweit forest, and they were going to take the family's dog that they were staying with. It's actually a really clever idea to take an animal to somewhere you're not really familiar with, especially if it is in woodland areas, because they can smell their way back, whereas humans can't. So if at any point they were lost or didn't really know where they were, the animal would find its way back and guide them to safety. Now, as I said, they're young, and one of their main priorities was updating their social media. They didn't only do this to kind of, I don't know, I guess, say, hey look everybody, we're in Panama, but it was also just to update their family and let everybody know that they were safe. So with that being said, right before they went into the forest, they took to their Facebook to update their friends and family. However, that night, the dog returned home, but Lisanne nor Kris was ever seen again. So how did two extremely responsible young adults just vanish, especially when they were so prepared? What happened? Technology plays a huge part in this story, and it's going to give us the best guideline as to what happened to them. We don't fully know, but this is as close as we'll get. So let's start at the very beginning. We know that they left the house around 11 AM and arrived at the forest not long after. And as I've said, the girls were big on updating their social medias, but they also would daily text their family to let them know that they were safe and where they were going and what they were up to. Just, you know what parents are like, they want to keep them in the loop. But as soon as that trip into the forest commenced, the statuses as well as the daily texts stopped. It was reported that the girls were seen right before they entered the forest, sitting chilling on the grass, having a snack, getting to know two completely unidentified young Dutch men. Nobody could really ever give a detailed description of what these unidentified men looked like because you never really thought much of it. I mean, why would you? It's just a couple of people having lunch, right? And as I've said in one of my previous videos, Ivan Millet and the Backpack Murders, if you haven't seen it, it's on the screen right now. Be sure to check that out because it is one hell of a story. I'm sure you will enjoy it. But back to what I was saying. As I said in that video, it's not really something strange for travellers to meet up with random people and just start talking and kind of immediately become friends. So this wasn't really something to be alerted by until the girls never returned. And this is because these young Dutchmen were probably the last people to have seen them before they entered that forest. On the morning of April 2nd, the girls were still nowhere to be seen, and it resulted in them missing a pre-booked appointment with a local tour guide. This definitely raised alarm bells because they wanted to see Panama, so to miss this was quite a big deal. The next day comes around, April 3rd, and still no sign of the girls. The local family that they're staying with at this point is really starting to panic. They decide to get the police involved, and immediately an aerial search of the forest began. Even the locals were getting involved. People were going into this forest to conduct their own search, as well as everybody around Panama had their eyes peeled in case they'd seen them. Fast forward a few days later and it's April 6th, and the family of both girls arrive in Panama and they don't show up empty-handed. With them they have detectives, police, as well as dog units. They were going to search every single inch of this forest to find their daughters. The parents were also offering up to $30,000 for anybody with information leading to finding them, which is probably why everybody kept their eyes open. Almost 10 weeks would go past without any new information, no breakthroughs, nothing had happened, but nobody gave up hope. Although around this 10-week mark, a local woman came forward with a blue backpack that she had found. The blue backpack belonged to Lisanne. She said that she had found this backpack in a rice paddy by the riverbank near her village of El Toro Romero in the Bocas del Toro region. The lady said that she visits this place every single day because it's her livelihood, and she had never seen this backpack there. The contents of this backpack contained 2 pairs of sunglasses, $83 in cash, Lisanne's passport and camera, a water bottle, 2 bras and both their mobile phones, all packed, dry and in good condition. When the police had gained access to these phones, it showed that just a few hours into the hike, after that Facebook post, someone had tried to call 112 and 911, which is both emergency service numbers. In the next part of this story, I am going to do my best to detail the events of what happened, or as close to what happened, to Lisanne and Kris, only using the contents of their phone. The first distress call was made just a few hours after beginning their hike. One was made from Kris's phone at 16:39 PM and the other was made from Lisanne's phone at 16:51 PM. But the scariest part is that no matter how many phone calls these girls would make, not one of them would go through. Almost all of them never went through. On April 3rd, one connection was made, but it was just for a second. Nobody got to speak. Fast forward to April 5th, and Lisanne's phone battery became overheated and shut down around 5 AM, and after that, it was never turned on again. Kris's phone would not be able to make any other phone calls, but it was turned on several times to search for reception. After April 6th, multiple attempts of a false PIN code were entered into the phone. It was never guessed correctly and nobody ever gained access to it again. Fast forward just a few days later, between the 7th and the 10th, there was up to 77 phone calls made to the emergency services from Kris's phone. On the 11th, the phone was turned on at 10:51 and then turned back off again at 11:56, and it was never switched on again. During the police investigation, Lisanne's camera was discovered to contain photos from April 1st, the very night they went missing. It showed that they had both taken a small trail at the overlook peak of the Continental Divide and wandered into some wilderness which was off track. This was only a few hours before their first attempt to reach 911. On April 8th, deep into the jungle, between 1 AM and 4 AM, 90 flash photos were taken. Some of these photos show a twig with a plastic bag and candy wrappers on top of a rock. On top of another rock, it shows what looks to be something similar to toilet tissue and a mirror, while another photo shows the back of Kris's head. The rest of the photos were random stills of the jet black forest grounds lit up by the flash of the digital camera. Just a few kilometers away from where the backpack was first located, Kris's jean denim shorts were found, zipped up, neatly folded and placed on top of a rock. This led the investigation down the river, and just 2 months later, a little closer to where the backpack was first found, a human pelvis was found, as well as a boot with a foot inside. Not long after this, detectives would find up to 33 widely scattered bones lying in this vicinity. When the DNA results came back for all of these finds, they confirmed that they both belonged to Kris and Lisanne. This next part is a little bit squeamish and a little bit gory, but some of Lisanne's bones still had some of the skin attached to them, while Kris's bones appeared to be bleached. This is just evidence that Kris's bones had just been in direct sunlight for a few days. A forensic investigator concluded that there were no signs of heavy trauma to the bones, no scratches, or evidence that would suggest the girls were in danger in any way. But this makes no sense, because how did they end up like that? Well, I have a few theories. So let's go all the way back to the beginning. The unidentified guys, well, nothing was shady about them until the girls never returned. This is all 100% speculation and just my opinion. What if these women just trusted these guys and decided to go on a hike with them? It'll only be for a few hours. Maybe they said they knew the hike better, who knows what story they spun to these girls. Or maybe they were just as clueless as the girls and decided that together it would be safer to go all the way through and more fun, you know, get to know each other. And then when the girls were halfway through and realised that they had no idea where they were and were very confused, maybe they had also seen little signs of things that panicked them and reached out for help, and that's when the first 911 call come in. Then something happens to Kris. Maybe the men done something to her, maybe they pushed her off something, maybe she fell. Either way, she died. And then that's when Lisanne took Kris's phone, tried to get into it, but couldn't get in because of the passcode. And maybe the 90 random pictures on the digital camera were taken so that Lisanne could light up the path that was in front of her, because remember, middle of the jungle, pitch black, this was the only source of light that she had at this point. Or, even worse and scarier, maybe she was trying to take random flash photography pictures of whoever was in front of her, something or someone. Maybe it was so dark she couldn't see what was out there, so the camera was the only way to take a snapshot of someone, look at it, and see what she was up against. I don't know about you guys, but to me that kinda makes sense, except from the fact that the bones were where they were located, which was quite a fair bit away from where the forest is. But again, they could have been moved. Or maybe it was wild animals, but again, the bones were moved and the clothes were neatly folded, which I don't know, it just leads you to believe that humans were involved, right? But another reason to back up that someone was there was the digital camera with all the random pictures. Well, only one of them was missing, deleted. Between image 508 and 510, there should have been image 509. 508 was taken the last morning the girls were known to be alive, and 510 was taken the night of. Image 509 would have been the only image and possible evidence of what the girls saw. Someone had to have deleted it, and if it were true that something happened to one of them, the last thing on their mind in the middle of a pitch black jungle would be to go through their camera roll and delete the pictures that they didn't want. So now that you've heard my conspiracy theories, let's say you're someone that doesn't really believe in conspiracy theories and you want facts. Well, I've got them for you. From what was found in the backpack, we know that there was minimal water. Now, the human body can only go up to around about a week without water. Now, with that being the case, the girls wouldn't have had any energy to get up and take a picture, and they might not even have been alive. We will never fully know what happened to Lisanne and Kris, but Dutch authorities working with forensic and search rescue investigators thought it likely the students had accidentally fallen from a cliff after becoming lost. A lot of the evidence at the time was mishandled, and by the time it was taken seriously, it was a little bit too late. In 2017, new evidence was uncovered, and it was enough for the police to conclude that on the few nights the girls were out in the jungle, someone else was with them, watching them, and possibly hunting them down. And to this day, that person is still uncalled for. Let me know what you guys think of this case in the comments below. I cannot wait to read them. I am so confused about this case, and I don't know, I just kind of feel like my theories are right. I don't know, there's just something about those two men seeing the girls and then right after it they go missing. I feel like there's something there. As well as the police mishandled so much evidence back then that there's something that hasn't been uncovered yet. Remember to like, subscribe, do the whole thing. This was Weird World, and this was the unsolved mystery of the missing Dutch students. Stay tuned and I'll hopefully see you guys in my next video.